Some of you getting in the Air Force, you've never purchased a vehicle before, and you really don't know what you're about to get yourself into. And so you go to the dealership, and if they know you don't really know anything about purchasing the vehicle, they can take advantage of you. So this video that I'm doing is going to try to show you how to not get taken advantage of, and also give you some tips to make sure you get the best deal possible when you go to purchase a vehicle. And I just recently purchased a vehicle, so if you guys stick around to the end, I'll walk you through the vehicle that I just got. So the first tip is do your own research. Just like when joining the Air Force, I tell you guys to do your own research. It's the same thing with purchasing a vehicle. And when I say do your own research, I mean like learn everything about the vehicle and also learn how much that vehicle costs. You can look at the Kelley Blue Book. You can look at Airman's. You can try to get an idea of how much that vehicle costs. You do not want to go to the dealership and the first time you hear the prices through the dealership, because they can always go high, and if you have no reference point, then you kind of just agree with them. Tip number two. I would also suggest that you get pre-approved before you go to the car dealership. And whether that's through a credit union or through your bank, I would really suggest that you get pre-approved. That way you know how much you can spend when you go to the dealership. Also, credit unions, in my opinion, they give some of the best interest rates. So I would really recommend you get pre-approved through a credit union. That way you can try to get the best interest rate possible. And that lower interest rate will save you a little bit of money throughout the entire loan period. Tip number 3. I would also suggest that you shop around. Don't just go to the first car dealership that you find and buy whatever they have. You want to shop around, because some car dealerships may price the car a little higher. Some may price it a little bit lower that you're interested in. So you definitely want to shop around and make sure the car dealership you're going to is going to be the best one to give you the best deal for what you're trying to buy. Tip number 4, and this is really important because some of you getting in the Air Force and you never really had any money before. So now you got a steady inflow of cash, and you think you can go out there and buy like a Benz, or you could buy like a Beamer, or whatever it is that you think you can afford. Tip number 4 is buy what you can afford. I would suggest that you guys try to keep your monthly payments anywhere between $250 to maybe $400 at maximum. That way you guys aren't breaking the bank trying to afford this car. If your car payments are any higher than that, then you probably shouldn't be buying that car. Just realistically, and that's just my opinion, but I would say purchase what you can afford. All right, tip number 5. This is super important. You guys want to start to learn how to negotiate. So when you go to the car dealership, most of them allow you to negotiate. There are some car dealerships that they say no negotiation is allowed. I actually like those because you don't have to do the whole war going back and forth with the salesman. But if they do allow negotiation, then you want to negotiate for yourself and try to get that car price as low as possible. And when I say negotiate, I just said in tip 4, you want to try to get your monthly payments down to like $250, $400. You do not want to negotiate monthly price with the salesman, because they can get your monthly price down to $400, $250 by adding on extra years to your loan. The extra years, you're going to be paying more interest, so the car dealership benefits from that. You do not want to negotiate monthly price into the negotiations. And the way you can do this, basically tell them your flat price. Tell them what you're willing to pay. And if they're not trying to meet you, then don't be afraid to walk away from the offer. A lot of times when people walk away from the actual offer, that's when the dealership is like, well, hold on now, let's see what we can do. But if you're not okay with walking away from the offer, then most of the time the dealership is going to win in the negotiations. And tip number 6, I don't have 6 fingers, so 5, 6, 5. Tip number 6. You do not want to start to negotiate your trade before you negotiate the final sales price of the vehicle. The reason why is because let's say you wanted the vehicle for $20,000, right? And you also told them that you wanted to do a trade. And they could basically use your trade to get you to the price of $20,000. They can say, hey, with your trade-in, we'll take some of that and we'll get that price down to $20,000. Don't do that. Negotiate the $20,000 first, and then after you got the total price of the vehicle down to $20,000, Then you start negotiating the deal on your trade-in as well. And that's if you're going to use the dealership to trade your vehicle into. I actually don't suggest trading your vehicle into the dealership because they are going to give you the lowest possible amount of money possible for that vehicle. Like I told you guys in the intro, I just bought a vehicle and I traded my vehicle into a company called Shift. I am not sponsored by Shift in any way. Matter of fact, I'm not big enough. They don't even know who I am. But I just went through them, and I had originally went to the dealership for my vehicle that I traded in. The dealership said, we'll give you $9,500. And I was like, no, that's a bad deal. And my wife was telling me about a company called Shift. Basically, they come out to your house. They do the appraisal right there in your front yard. And then they give you a number. And the Shift guy came out to my house and gave me a number of $16,500. And the dealership just told me $9,500 like 3 days before that. So if you're going to trade in, I would just call them and they pay you like within 2 days. We got our money within 2 days. And then I went to the dealership when I purchased my car. I had the cash already for my trade-in, so we didn't even negotiate trade-in. So it made the process a little bit smoother. Tip number 7. You also want to factor in your insurance costs. Remember how I was talking about those monthly payments? If you want your monthly payments anywhere between like $250 and $400, you also got to factor in insurance costs as well. So once you purchase a vehicle, you have to have that vehicle insured. And sometimes for you being younger and younger people are, I guess, more risky or more of a risk to the insurance companies, they kind of raise your insurance a little bit higher. So you got to kind of factor that into your total monthly cost, because if you can only afford $400 and you're at your maximum amount of money, then you're going to be tight trying to squeeze in insurance. So make sure you guys are factoring in insurance costs as well when you're trying to develop your monthly budget for what you can spend. Tip number 8, do not impulse buy. Sometimes you guys go to the dealership, you already know exactly what you want, right? And you get there and the salesman starts showing you all this stuff that you didn't even know you wanted. And now all of a sudden your whole direction shifted from the car that you thought you wanted to something totally different that you didn't even do any research on. So you're impulse buying now. You're spending more money. You don't even really know anything about the car. You're just impulse buying. Don't do that. You'll probably end up regretting that later, and we don't want to have any regret when we leave the dealership. Tip number 9. Once you guys, I don't know if you guys ever purchased a vehicle before, but once you've negotiated the final sales price and the trade-in and all that, you guys have to go into the back with their financiers, and they start talking about extended warranties and adding on extra packages to the vehicle, like adding paint protection and leather protection and all this different stuff. And those salesmen back there, those are some of the best salesmen, because they try to make you feel bad. Like if you tell them you don't want the warranty, they be like, oh, why don't you want to protect your vehicle? And you tell them you don't want the paint, they start trying to make you feel bad. You guys got to go in there strong, because they're going to try to talk you into buying all these extra non-essential items for your vehicle. That's where they really make their money. The dealerships, they really make their money in that back room with all the add-ons and the extra warranties and stuff like that. So unless you want the warranty or you want those add-ons, I would suggest that you go in there strong and be prepared for them to try to make you buy all this extra stuff. And tip number 10, this is extremely important, especially if you're going to a used car dealership. You definitely want to test drive your vehicle. Be prepared when you're in the car with the salesman. They're always trying to upsell you along the drive, but it's still important that you take that vehicle out on a test drive before you purchase it.